Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Tyngsborough, or rather, excuse me, the Friday wrap-up. It's Friday. It is August 2nd, and this is the Friday wrap-up here at Tyngsborough TV Live. I'm Town Media Director Steve Brogan. Sitting next to me is Kaylee Adams, who is pushing buttons over here, trying to make it look good and sound good. We got a whole bunch of funny stuff we're going to talk about today, interesting and funny, as well as a bunch of stuff happening in town that's going on in the next few days, mostly road work, all that kind of stuff if you've been driving around. You've probably seen that already. It's there's a lot going on, so we'll talk a bit about that. I've got Justin Salzbach, the assistant town administrator, is going to come in at 11:45, so in just a few minutes, and we'll talk a bit about the road work that's going on. There's a number of roads being paved, as well as roads are being striped. Everybody at Flint Corner, hooray! You must be like cheering right now because the paving is done and the striping's about to happen. And then there's also the continuing sewer work. They're starting the testing of the ground to see, what kind of, if they're going to run into bedrock and all that kind of stuff, if they have to blast and so on. So they're starting that up Middlesex Road. So there is construction going on all over the place on the roads, and it's just making for an interesting trip around Tyngsborough. It's not that bad, to be honest. I drove around a little bit just to check it out, and it's really not too bad. But once it comes to high traffic times, that'll be the tell. So all that said, welcome to the show. Don't forget, if you want to watch this broadcast, you can check it out on Facebook, YouTube, tyngsboroughma.gov, on our live video on demand and streaming service, and at Comcast 8 and Verizon 29. If you have any questions, feel free to chime in on email, sbrogan@tyngsboroughma.gov, or if you just want to join in. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to chime in there. You can leave comments. If you have interesting things to tell us, we'll be happy to talk about it, or questions. We'll be happy to talk about stuff as well. So lots of stuff. How you been, Kaylee? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's been a busy week, hasn't it?
Looking at the videos that we have pulled up for today.
We got a whole bunch
Lots
of funny
of stories
stuff
to talk about.
Yeah, there's a bunch of interesting things. So I'm going to save the road work and stuff till Justin gets in. So the first thing I think I wanted to kind of talk about was Woodstock 50. The newest iteration of Woodstock was canceled. Yeah, they dumped it because of various reasons. It
sounds
like
more like financial almost.
Yeah.
Permits.
But they had permit issues. Some of the performers pulled out. Yeah, let's put the story up. A whole bunch of that kind of stuff. So that's too bad because 98 was cool, or 94, was really a cool one. 99, I'm actually surprised they're revisiting this because 99 was such a disaster.
But it's kind of crazy. Like, this was 2 weeks out from the event, and they just canceled it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of pretty close.
I read that it said it was a free event, but then on top of it, it said that there was ticket sales issues.
But it was free.
So what was but it says it was free. So it contradicted itself. So I was kind of confused by that a little bit, but yeah. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about Woodstock. Would you be interested in attending a Woodstock event after seeing what happened at 99? Personally, I wouldn't. I'd have no interest, but because you can watch it on TV. I watched 94 and 99 on pay-per-view. Yeah.
It's just chaotic.
For me, I don't know.
Plus, I wasn't around for that, so it's not something that I'm super into.
I mean, I wasn't either. The first one was in '69, so I wasn't.
Yeah, but I was born in '99.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Right. That's true. Actually, you were born the year that the first. Wow. The third one happened. Bring up the clip. Screen it quickly, Kaylee. But bring up the clip of the fires. So I watched this on pay-per-view,
here I have it.
And I actually almost won tickets to this through a WAAF, 107.3, the radio station.
So you almost won. It's funny because I feel like I never win those whenever I call.
So I did. Well, I did a call-in thing, and they were like, "Oh, can you grab the scanner for me?"
Yeah.
I did a call-in, and it was to win a whole bunch of different tickets for all these different shows. Ozfest that year, Sammy Hagar, Woodstock was the final ticket winning thing, and if you answered each question right, you won those tickets, and if you got to the end, you won the last pair of tickets. And I missed the question for the Woodstock tickets. The question was what color was the bad acid at the original Woodstock, and the answer was brown. I had no idea. I had no clue. Google wasn't a thing at that point, so I couldn't just quickly Google it. Right, yeah. So I couldn't Google it. And I missed the tickets. I didn't win those. I won all the other tickets, so I got to go to all the other concerts, which was great. But I didn't win the final tickets, so I wasn't there. But I watched it on pay-per-view, and then I saw the Chili Peppers. So play the video. Make sure you play past the part.
Yeah, I'm on the
we
fire.
can't show. But okay, yeah. so here's the video of after the Red Hot Chili Peppers played, and they played the song Fire by Jimi Hendrix, supposedly in honor of Jimi Hendrix and his performances at the original Woodstock, but then this was what happened. I'm going to keep the volume off on this, but go ahead, hit play on that, and let's just show folks. So this is what ended up happening at 99, and this is why I have no interest in going to a Woodstock concert, just because, I mean, not that this would definitely happen again, but like the chaos and the mayhem, and it was out of control. Basically, it was like riot conditions. They had riot police and all kinds of crazy stuff going on.
Also,
so,
with all of the crazy stuff that like happens at concerts anyways nowadays, that's even more of a threat. You know?
And this is a festival as opposed to just, you know, a one-day concert where you go, you listen, and you go home at the end of the day. This is going to probably, I would imagine, the 50 was supposed to go on for multiple days like the other ones have, you know. But I don't know, crazy, freaky stuff. What do you guys think, though? I'm curious to know. Would you go to a Woodstock concert? I want to know what everybody at home would think about this.
It was actually canceled on July 31st. I didn't know that was actually really recent.
Okay, yeah. Smart of them to do it. I mean, I guess if they had issues, then it's such a huge undertaking. And it wasn't even going to be in New York. It was like Columbia, Maryland or something.
Yeah, they said
so that's no fun.
Conflicting radius issues in the D.C. area was a factor, and acts who pulled out for their own reasons were like reasons why they had to cancel and stuff.
Huh. It was cool that they tried to recreate it, but then, 99 burned it, literally. It just killed it, so I don't know. But
yeah, I know. I'm surprised they even like had a 99 after.
I was surprised they had it, yeah. I was surprised, too. Anyway, so that's just, I don't know, kind of funny thing that we were talking about this morning. Let's talk about, while we're waiting for Justin, a couple of other things I wanted to mention. Kaylee, can you bring up the town website? I wanted to mention that before we get into the road work and stuff, that MassDOT has a notification system, email notification system. Kaylee, if you go to the news portion of the website, I just wanted to show you guys this, a couple things. One is MassDOT has their email notification system for any road closures. Apparently there's like a ton of road work. In Massachusetts, there's always road work somewhere, but they had a notification system that you could sign up for to, if you scroll down, Kaylee, you'll see it, to get alerts from MassDOT of road closures. So if you're a commuter, you drive to Boston or wherever.
Oh, here it is.
You know, wherever the points you go to. Yeah. Go ahead, click on that. There you go. You can sign up for this email notification, email update sign up for road closure information. So if that's helpful to you, check it out. It's on our town website, tyngsboroughma.gov. Go in the news section and just scroll down a little bit. You'll see this mass.info to get that. The other thing I wanted to show them is Smart 911. So if you back out of that, Kaylee, go to the Smart 911 system. Should be right on the homepage. This one's good. So, I mean, the MassDOT one's good too, but this one's really interesting
like on
because
the part?
On the main, go to the main page and you should see it, I believe. Anytime there's an emergency in town, whether it's some type of major emergency, that is snow emergencies, that kind of stuff, the town will send out these like reverse 911 calls, and they use the Smart 911 system. However, it doesn't work if you don't sign up for it. So just wanted to show people that if you go to the website, you can go to, I think if you scroll down, Kaylee, it's down on the left, I believe. Or did you just find it?
On this page?
No, not under history. Hang on. So it's reverse 911. We've had it for a while now, and I've definitely mentioned this a bit before, but it's worth mentioning again, just that it's something that's available if you needed to find some information while we try to pull up the page here. If you wanted to stay abreast of what's going on in town, specifically to emergencies and things like that, this is a good way to do it.
So I'm on the main page right now.
Yep.
Oh, is it the mobile alerts?
There you go. Yep, that's right on the homepage. So
yes,
before you click on it, don't click on it yet.
Go to the home, and then it's right here.
So it's right down on the bottom of the homepage. So click on that just to show folks. So you can sign up for this system. You can put in a phone number, email address, and all the usual information. And it doesn't get shared with anybody. It's a safe thing rather. So nobody's getting this information other than us to send contact or send information out rather. So that's available. So just wanted to point that out if you guys are looking for anything as far as if you want to be aware of emergencies and things like that, which is a good thing to do for the town you live in. They'll send out the stuff that you need to know about directly from our public safety officials. The other thing, before I get off the subject, is we have a brand new website that is now live. So if you want to go check out the new town website, it is there. So Kayla, if you want to kind of just scroll through, things have moved around slightly, but everything is just as findable as it was before. So go check out the website. There's some cool stuff going on there. There's a counter to the block party at the bottom, and all the usual information that you would expect to be there is up at the top. You can pay fees online as you could before, and a number of other things. And I wanted to point out one other quick thing. Kaylee, go to Quick Links just so we can show the folks. If you wanted to watch any of our VOD stuff, all of our VOD stuff is still obviously going to be available. It's just in a new location. So it's right under the Quick Links tab, and it will take you directly to our VOD system. And you can then watch the videos, whatever you want to watch, whatever town meetings you want to follow up on and get information on. You can do that. So so that's all easily available for you. Still available, of course, on the website, tyngsboroughma.gov. And this is the new website, so it'll look totally different from the last one that you're used to seeing if you were on our website before. Calendar's still there, just like before. Still uses Google Calendar. So if you wanted to have that share to your personal calendar, you can click on that and click on the little plus symbol, and it'll add it right to your personal Google Calendar. I never figured out if you can add it to for people who use Yahoo or whatever other kind of calendars are out there. I'd imagine there's a way to integrate it. I hadn't actually found the information on it. So anyways, I've got Mr. Justin Saltzback sitting here now, and we're going to talk quickly about some of the road work that's going on. So we've got striping, we've got all kinds of stuff happening around town. It's a busy period for road work. So tell me first, Justin, what's going on right now? What are the projects that are kind of happening right now?
How long is this show? We might have to
as far as road work, yeah, you're right. That's true.
2 segments. So actually, I had a chance to drive around a little bit today and kind of check in on some of the projects as well.
Yeah. Can you just pull that mic right up to you? Get right close to it. There you go.
Hey.
All right. Now we got to go. Okay,
so as you mentioned, it's pretty busy out there. I think everybody knows that. Part of that's just a regional thing. 9 months out of the year, we can't really get anything done. So the summer we really
which makes summer a little tricky. Yeah,
absolutely. So one project in particular that's been going on for a while now that's finally wrapping up is the MassWorks Flint's Corner project.
Right.
That's pretty exciting. Long time coming. We had some delays related to utilities and things of that nature.
And the citizens rejoice.
Yes, they do.
It's almost done.
An extremely patient group, always appreciated. And, anytime there's a project of that scale, there are some hiccups. So I think everybody's going to be happy to get that done, especially with the school year right around the corner, just to kind of minimize some of that traffic heading towards the elementary school.
And now let me ask you this quickly. They take considerations when it comes to school days and stuff. They'll suspend work for periods so that they're not interrupting bus traffic and stuff, right?
Correct. When possible.
When possible, right, of
When
course.
possible. And oftentimes we'll try to schedule these jobs outside of, the school year, just so we're minimizing that impact to the students, especially once the buses hit the road. I think everybody notices the traffic pick up a little bit, based on that fact alone. Yeah. So shutting, closing lanes, and it's unavoidable, but we try to minimize that impact where we can. So for the MassWorks project, they're out there doing striping as we speak for the intersections.
Awesome.
You'll see that dedicated right-hand lane heading towards the elementary school on Westford.
Yes, that was much discussed. The
right
right-hand lane.
Yes, it was. And I think people are going to be happy, with the end result. I know there was some concern about adding sidewalks and bike lanes and narrowing the road. Part of that's by design to get vehicles to slow down, but we obviously don't want people sitting in traffic needlessly long either. So I think we'll strike a good balance there.
Yeah. Well, it also had to do with getting the grant to begin with. You have to do some of those things as requirements.
Correct. That's a component. Just in general, any type of modern transportation project, they're trying to incorporate, pedestrian safety and bike safety and things like that. So
Makes
being
sense.
absolutely, being able to do that and getting that $2.5 million grant for the area, I think people are now they're riding smoothly pretty much from Route 3 down to the other intersection.
It's a nice ride, yeah.
It's nice now that it's done.
Yeah.
So also today they're out doing striping for the Complete Streets project at Winslow and Kendall.
Okay, right.
Last fall, people might recall that about from the park and ride down to the Old Town Hall, we did a section with some remaining Chapter 90 funds, just all fresh new paving. And then this year with the Complete Streets grant, which is about $400,000, in addition to about $270,000 from Chapter 90, we're wrapping up that whole Winslow Road redesign and then the section from the Old Town Hall straight down to the intersection. So that's what they're working on painting today. And then beyond that, it's just some minor punch list items, but that project will be completely done as well. in addition to that, across on the other side of the bridge, just so they don't feel left out, there's a 2019 road rehab project. So that's being done with the contractors PJ Keating.
Okay.
It's a pretty substantial amount.
This is a number of roads getting paved,
is,
right?
So I'm gonna read it off. So we have Frost, Norris, Lawrence, and Buck Hill. Those actually went out to bid and they came in a little bit lower. So the Board of Selectmen had discussed it at their past 2 meetings and are agreeable to doing sections of Coburn Road from Sherburne down to Park Road, as well as Wickesy Road.
Wow, cool.
So they're getting a lot in, and they're really doing a good job of kind of stretching the funds. Matt, our town administrator, did a good job of blending, I guess, different resources. So it's about $755,000 project. Of that, $350,000 are coming from Chapter 90. We have pretty limited Chapter 90 funds every year. $250,000 is coming from the fiscal 20 overlay release. So that's an amount of funds that the assessor's office typically reserves just in case there's any abatements or fluctuations in tax bills.
Okay.
And then $200,000 from the Drake Water District. So typically, if a utility company such as a water district is doing work in an area and they have to trench to lay pipe or something like that, they'll a little avalanche back there. It startled me a little bit too. We got raccoons
We
in
had
the
something
building
fall
or
in the
something.
background,
Yeah.
so it's okay. It's all good. Everybody's okay.
So when they have to dig those trenches, they're not going to go back and pave, curb to curb.
Yeah.
They're just going to do that trench, and the trench will sag. You get through a winter, people driving on it, and all of a sudden it's 4 inches below where the rest of the road is.
Right, you
It
end up
drives
with one of
people
those
crazy.
scoops in the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen that many times.
So rather than have the Drake Water District go through and do that, Matt worked out an agreement where they will just give the funds to the town, and we're just going to do the whole thing in one shot, curb to curb. Because we had
very
to do
smart.
it anyway.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
So it's just creative little things like that I think this administration has worked towards, and this Board of Selectmen and previous Board of Selectmen, to kind of stretch the dollar a little bit and be a little bit smarter with the way we're going about paving.
Well, you got 2 extra roads for the price of what should have been only 4 roads. You got 6 going. I mean, that's awesome.
Exactly. And in addition to that, just dedication to finding more sources of funding. Like I said, Chapter 90, what we get from the state every year is very limited. And
that's because we don't have as much accepted roads as other bigger towns and cities, correct?
That's a component of it. But even that, it's an issue that's not unique to Tyngsborough. It's kind of statewide and across the country to an extent, but a lot of aging infrastructure, and it's kind of underfunded. So most communities in Massachusetts are struggling to keep up with their roads because the cost to pave is exponential.
I don't know if you can answer this, but how is it that New Hampshire can keep their roads in such condition, but Massachusetts always has seemed to have, it's been an impossible task almost to keep up with these roads? Is it just because we have so many roads? Is the focus different in New Hampshire? Is that why they're always so good?
It's a mix.
Understand that.
So part of it's the way we have to fund some of these projects, and Massachusetts has a pretty complexly structured system. Things like prevailing wage that we have to deal with. So
oh, that's true. Yeah, good point.
That New Hampshire doesn't have to deal with, or doesn't have to deal with to such a degree. So they can pave way more with way less funds.
Okay.
Now, the downside of that, and I mean, I don't want to get into economics, but the purpose of prevailing wage is that it drags up the rate that somebody's paid in any given industry, and then that in turn drives up salaries.
Which makes sense.
And so
you'd like to see that happen.
The further you get from Boston, you see kind of those salaries dip. So it's a double-edged sword, I guess, but I don't want to get into
no,
economics.
that's fine. I was just kind of
so
curious. I didn't know if you had some good answer to that, but that's good enough for me. I think. All right. So what else is going on? What other paving's going on?
So just as part of that 2019 roadway rehab, and I guess circling back to trying to work around school schedules, they're trying to take care of Norris and Frost first, just to minimize that impact. 'Cause I think buses start rolling again on August 27th.
Ooh, it's almost here.
Oh, it's almost here. So get ready,
I get that
everyone.
chill every time I see the back to school stuff in the stores. I'm always like I gotta go back, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm almost 40 years old. I don't have to go
anywhere. Like the smell of backpacks and new pencils.
I used to love school shopping though so much.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Oh man, I just remember those funny commercials with like the parents. They'd be all excited because the kids are going back to school. They're like,
wonderful time of the year.
Yes, the most wonderful time of the year. They'd be prancing through the stores, and the kids are all mad and stuff.
I know.
It's good. It'll be good. Education is good.
Yes, it is.
Go to
Stay
school.
in school.
Go to school. Stay in
school,
school,
kids.
Please.
Beyond those projects, there's also just a lot of general maintenance that's going on. I mean, it's more visible when they're out there milling down a road and completely redoing it. But in addition to that, we do a lot of crack sealing throughout the year to maintain our existing assets. That helps us, if you just let a road go, the cost to completely rebuild it is pretty insane.
Very
so we
expensive,
try to maintain the roads that we do have.
What was the ballpark? I'm trying to remember the number. It was like $100,000 a mile, something like that. I don't remember the exact.
It's like I think like about $50 or $60 a foot.
A foot. Okay,
so
that's what it was.
That's what
right.
Wickesy came to, for example, and those numbers fluctuate based on materials and
the amount of work that goes into fixing the road and stuff. But is Wickesy a full grind down and start over from
doing
scratch?
It the whole way.
Okay,
from scratch.
So that's a reasonable number to $50 a foot to kind of keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's. I definitely understand frustration when roads are in tough shape.
Of course, yeah.
The other end of it is you have to pay for it and find ways to pay for it. So we're finding ways to pay for it that that don't hurt or don't hurt too bad.
Well, it sounds like you guys have been very creative and like you said, leveraging sort of like the water department. They were going to do work, and you just were able to kind of.
We're trying to be, and in addition to that, the Board of Selectmen have made it a commitment, and Matt as well, to try to build into the budget additional funding for paving every year. So I mean, the roads are absolutely a priority.
Right. If you follow the meetings, by the way, so yes, that has been discussed a lot. So fear not, they do hear you guys. Of course, they see all the posts on Facebook and all that stuff. So, you're definitely working on it for sure. The selectmen are definitely taking a lead on that. I had a quick question on Facebook that says, is the puddle on Westford Road by Senior Center going to be fixed?
Yes. So the puddle in front of the Senior Center was, I guess, a mix of issues. So historically, that puddle's always kind of been there. The engineers that we had working on the project did an excellent job, but sometimes you run into an area where existing site conditions are kind of complex, and you think you have a solution that might work, and you go to roll it out, and either it's, it doesn't necessarily work, or it's difficult to execute for the contractor. And that's kind of what we ran into for this one. I think the engineering team acknowledged that they put out something that, they thought could work. But when the contractor went to execute, it was such a difficult grade they were trying to deal with, in the way that road lies. It realistically, they should have from the get-go probably had some type of drainage on that side of the road, and so that's the solution that they're going to do.
And now, to back up a little bit, this also was kind of realized by the exceptional amount of rain we had this year too, right?
Yes,
that kind of helped identify that there was a bigger problem than.
That's usually the best indicator is when you actually get out there and if it's raining and pooling and you're saying something's not right here. So they took the past few weeks to go back to the drawing board, redesign that. We also want to, when we go through and do it after the fact, minimize the impact we're having to this freshly paved road. It's,
right, you don't want to goof up all the nice new pavement.
You cringe when you have to cut into a brand new road. And so to be, I guess, kind of proactive with kind of the downsides that come with that, where the new pavement is so new, it's much easier to try to blend in any type of patch. They're also using a type of rubberized sealer, because it's basically once you start getting water in those cracks and it gets underneath in the winter, and you get frosties and all that, stuff like that, the road degrades that much faster. So by using these rubberized sealers and by addressing the issue kind of faster while the newer road is still kind of curing, we're hoping to get ahead of that issue. And by the time it's all said and done, I don't think anyone's really going to notice it. But basically, they're putting in a catch basin where that puddle is currently. So, so they're just going to let we had talked about 3 or 4 different options. This seemed like the one that would have the best long-term effect. Because another thing is that, in 2 years you get a little settling and your grade's fine, and then in 2 years it's not, and then it's going to sit like that for 15 years. Not what we wanted. So ultimately they'll be putting in a drain there. They're going to trench it and run it across the street and tie it into the existing drainage that's on the Flint's Corner development side. And that puddle will just go away.
Excellent.
So
that's good to know. Just as a point of reference too, for folks to know, we just finished the rainiest 6 months in U.S. history. I mean, as far as people have been keeping so clearly the rain decided to be a problem. Luckily, maybe it was a problem, and it showed you something so you can fix it now instead of you finding, like you said, finding it years down the road. Mm-hmm. And by that point, the plows have done damage because it's popped up and all that fun stuff. So good. Okay, cool. Anything else?
Beyond that, just other kind of standard maintenance, going out and filling potholes. I saw the highway guys out there today hopping out, and they're out there.
Right, they've got some new equipment that they're playing with to fix some of these holes.
Part of our capital plan last year. Mm-hmm. So the Capital Asset Management Committee kind of helped usher that through. It was approved at town meeting, so they have new pavers and rollers, and they can go through and kind of spot check and do some of the smaller jobs, and they do an excellent job.
They do. They really do a good job.
They do a lot.
They're like the unsung heroes of this town. Yeah?
Seriously, well, we're singing it right now.
Right.
So special thanks to the highway department,
to Jimmy and all his crew. Well done.
Yeah, they do an excellent job, and they really kind of stretch limited resources to keep the roads manageable. Mm-hmm. So we appreciate that, and also other utilities in town. Sewer department's always helpful. We have to coordinate with them a lot. The water district. Anytime we're going through and doing a paving project, it really is a big team effort. So thanks to all those people too.
Cool. Let me ask you this. I know I've seen this happen a bunch of times before, and I assume you guys are planning. It sounded like you did it in some of the stuff you said, but like having a road get freshly paved, and then a department comes in and is like, oh, we have to run new lines, new plumbing, new whatever. Mm-hmm. I imagine you guys do everything you can to mitigate those kind of incidences happening, where you'll hold a paving project in order, like the sewer, for example. They wanted to do Middlesex Road,
right? But
we held on. You guys held on that even though Colleen Gary was going to try to get the funding through the state, just so that you wouldn't put a fresh road down and sewer's going to rip it up 2 months later and turn it into another mess.
Right, and that's a big part of this job, I suppose, is coordinating with other communities around us, coordinating with other utility groups, and just finding a way to when possible coordinate with the state. They kind of march to the beat of their own drum sometimes, right, yeah. And it's one of those things where the funding's there, and if the funding's there, you want to put it to work. But like you said, you don't want to have them pave it and then rip it up in a year to lay phase 2 sewer, and then you're running into a situation where you have one of those trenches again. Mm-hmm.
As a town, can if you find out that the state is going to do a paving job, we'll use Middlesex Road for example. Not that this is happening tomorrow or anything, but if they come in and say, hey, we're going to pave Middlesex Road, can you tell them no? Like, all this stuff is happening, you should probably wait. And do they listen, or is it just, you said they beat to their own drum, but
right. So
they generally take that guidance?
That scenario that you just described is actually exactly what happened with Middlesex Road.
Oh, okay.
So we knew eventually it was going to get paved. And I guess that's kind of to point out an important distinction. There are town roads and there are state roads. Mm-hmm. So Middlesex Road, it's in Tyngsborough, but it's not really something that we manage. It's something that the state would pave, and it's been on the list of roads that need to be paved for some time. So we've been pushing for that, and it finally kind of came through. It was partially announced, maybe a little prematurely, and we had to kind of come out and say, well, whoa, we're going to be ripping that up to do a phase 2 sewer potentially. So, and that's what ended up happening. So they agreed they'll push it back 2 years. I think phase 2 sewer is going to be wrapping up like spring 2020-ish, which would mean ideally that's going to be paved from the border all the way to the center, brand new for spring 2020.
That'll be nice.
It will be nice. The traffic will be a challenge, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, right, literally.
It's all we can do, just persevere. So.
Excellent. All right. Well, clearly there's lots of good stuff happening in town as far as paving, road work, all the cries of fix the roads is being heard. It's not being ignored, surely. So that's good to know. And I'm sure the people and the teachers and the students who ride on Norris every day are going to be happy because they won't be covered in their coffee.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's slightly less of a bumpy ride. Yeah.
Right. So. Awesome. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
That's it for now, at least in terms of roads.
Okay. So, yeah. Very good. All right. Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate your time. Anytime you want to come back, obviously, you're welcome. Door's always open.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So that was Justin Saltzback talking about the roads and all that work going on. Clearly, lots of stuff. So I guess the biggest takeaway from everybody is just, have patience, and it'll get done. Hopefully, some I'm sure we'd love to see the roads get done sooner rather than later, depending on the quality that they're in now, the state that they're in now. But it takes time, and it's expensive. I mean, $50 a foot. I don't have a way to measure that right now, but that's, I'd just look at Kendall from the Route 3 drop off to the bridge, to the intersection at the bridge. I mean, how far is that? That's probably 3/4 of a mile or so, Yeah. How many feet are in a mile? I forget the numbers, 5,000 something feet, right? That adds up at $50 a foot. So, it's expensive.
Yeah, it adds up.
But they've been good about leveraging money, so that's really good to know. Actually, didn't realize some of that stuff. So that's really cool how they worked out those deals in order to get more paved, and they got 2 extra roads paved. So that's amazing. That's really cool. All right, what else we want to talk about today?
We got lots of stories.
We do.
Choose one.
We do. I know, right? So let's see. We got the striping. I just want to go through the list. We have a long list of stuff that we're going to talk about.
They're also scattered too. Like none of them.
They really are. They're kind of all over the place.
Connect,
what do you guys want to know about? I want to hear from you on Facebook. Like, what's going on in your world in town? What's your interest lately? I've seen a lot of posts about like softball and just different things that are happening in town. I'm always curious to see what people are thinking about. So I definitely check out like the Tyngsborough Talk and the parents and all that stuff, and the Yahoo group that's out there. Which, by the way, if you're not on Facebook, there's definitely a wealth of information. People are always good about chiming in, and if you ask any kind of simple question, a simple question, but any kind of question rather, they're always happy to give you some good answers. So I see lots of really good responses to just different everyday things about like what's a particular the requirements for a particular class, the things that the students are going to need when they go back, and kindergarten and all these different things, softball and all these different types of things that come about in your daily lives here in town. So. It's cool to know that resource is there. Social media may be not good sometimes, but it's definitely good for a lot of things. So I think it's kind of a 50-50 there sometimes with that stuff. But anyways.
When it's used in the right way.
When it's used in the right way. That's the right way. When it's used in the right way, it's nice to see that people are able to use that stuff. So that's always handy. There's a Yahoo group if you're not a Facebook user. You can sign up on that. And then we post a lot of stuff. So we post stuff to Twitter. We post stuff to Facebook, of course, YouTube as well. Of course, the website. That's kind of become the traditional means of getting information out there now, the accepted means rather. But yeah, we post all that stuff. So you don't have to be on Facebook necessarily. But if you want to get more information, sometimes that's helpful. So, Kaylee, let's talk about Halloween.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of news stories, but also like we wanted to know. If you guys know of any haunted locations in town, because I've heard there's some, but we'd like to know if there's any in particular.
Right. And so the reason for this, the reason why we want to know, if you live in a house that might be haunted, you might be interested or willing to let us come in and maybe like do some video, because we're going to be talking to, I talked to Lori Furtado from the library, who has been connected with the what are they called now? The Mass Paranormal Society.
Yeah,
I think it is. I think that's right.
Something paranormal.
Yeah, something Paranormal Society. One of those guys. Anyways, they are going to be coming to town in October as a part of a Halloween thing that they're going to do here, and they talk about like haunted places and stuff like that. So we've been trying to find we know a few already. We've got a pretty decent list actually already that we've worked out of places we know or have been told that are haunted. So we're going to go around to some of these places with these guys and do some video and
who knows,
pictures.
Maybe even here is haunted because those boxes just fell
right?
for
Yeah,
no
that was
reason.
kind of weird. They just fell off the top of the thing.
None of us touched that this morning, so it's not like something was wobbling.
And they were perched up there fairly well, so it was kind of...
it was kind of weird.
That was kind of weird. So we're looking for haunted locations in town. And again, like I said, we have a few places that we already know about that are supposedly haunted. But we just thought it would be a fun October Halloween thing to play around with. And if we get these Mass Paranormal guys in here, we can do some cool videos and stuff. So it'd be kind of just a fun, kitschy thing to do for Tyngsborough. Because there is some places that are supposedly pretty haunted.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stories in talking to people around town about various locations.
Cemeteries, buildings.
Yeah. I had a woman send me a message. This was weird, right? I had a woman send me a message out of the blue, and I honestly don't even, I think it was through Facebook, I believe she sent it to me, but she asked me if there was ever anything that happened over by the Market Basket up in Nashua. Did I tell you about this?
I thought you were going to say the one about the cemetery.
Oh, no, yeah, that was a different one.
The burial ground.
So that was a different one, but this one was, she used to go to the Market Basket up in Nashua there, And she said that for the life of her, she could not bring herself to go into that place because she got some kind of like paranormal misery
Really?
kind of,
I used
it
to
was
work
like
there.
one of these did you really? One of these like gut wrenching kind of things. So she can't go there. She told me, she's like, she can't go there. So I asked around a little bit,
Pretty
and there was
strange.
and there was supposedly a way back, like 1600s or something like that, a trading post up that way and up on that piece of land. And this area had a lot of Indian attacks. The American Indians, they had a lot of attacks and issues with that. With, if you've ever read up on the history of like Colonel Ting and all that stuff, it's a checkered past, to say the least. Checkered history with that,
It's
with
random,
him.
though, market basket.
Yeah, right. It was random, but maybe it was because there was like this trading post up
Yeah.
there and some like crazy thing. Who knows? I don't know.
I wonder where she goes grocery
mean, it's-
shopping.
Yeah, right. Right. I wonder where you go now, where she goes now. But it was just one of those crazy, like out of the blue, like, hey, did this ever happen? And we hadn't even been talking about haunted places. She just out of the blue sent me this message, and it like kind of weirded me out a little bit. I'm like, oh, maybe something did happen up there. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, some people can definitely sense that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, for sure, I totally believe in that.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's people that can definitely sense those things. I
Yeah.
agree. It's, the jury's out. I mean, I personally think that there probably there's something to this, but to that stuff, but it just gives me the chills to
Yeah.
think about it. I don't like to acknowledge it
Yeah.
because I'm like, I get that like
Me
the hair
and-
stands up on the back of your
We
neck.
were in Old Town Hall, and we were setting up equipment, and we heard the toilets flush by
Yeah,
themselves,
multiple
which was
times on
pretty
their own.
weird. Yeah.
Now I will say that they're on a photoelectric trigger type deal. So if
But
you sit on it and then you get up, it triggers it and it turns. But nobody was
that
in
was
the
so
building
weird,
but
though.
us.
There was no one in the building except for us,
Yeah.
and we weren't like relatively anywhere near the bathroom. And you went in, and you thought someone was maybe in the building.
It was very strange
Yeah.
to say the least.
No, that was
yeah.
weird.
Now, part of the reason why we're bringing this up as well is because there's a movement right now to change Halloween from October 31st, like it always is, to the last Saturday of October. And I want to know what everybody watching on Facebook and anywhere else thinks about this. So if you're on there right now, leave us a comment. Would you prefer it to be on the last Saturday of October, which means it would always be on a Saturday, or would you rather it stay October 31st?
I think it
Which
should
means
be.
it moves from like Mondays it can be any random day of the week depending on when
Yeah.
that falls on. What do you think, Haley?
So I was reading this article so Snickers wants to change the date of Halloween. They're the one that started this whole thing.
Right, okay.
And they pledged to give away 1 million candy bars if that happens.
That's a lot of candy bars.
Now, I don't know.
Wait, full-size candy bars or the little kiddie-size ones? Because
It
if it's the
doesn't
full-size
say.
ones, I'm in for
It doesn't say, but like the picture looks like a full-size one.
Okay.
I thought it was weird because where would they give the candy bars to?
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, how are they
Like,
going to disseminate
It
these
said
candy
to
bars?
America. So like, what does that mean?
And they're going to give away, is it a lottery? You get a free candy bar?
I don't get it.
Do you go to some store and the store will get reimbursed or something? I
It
don't know.
literally just says to America.
To America.
But it makes sense, like, why they want to change it to Saturday because it's safer and it's longer also. So the petition directly addresses President Trump, but Halloween's not a federal holiday. So, like...
Right, no, it's kind of one of those...
Yeah.
It's recognized, but it's like not a real... It's not a real holiday.
But
Let's put it that way.
I
Not a
think
federal
it does
holiday, like you said.
it does make sense. Like it says the group claims there are 3,800 Halloween related injuries every year. And it says why cram it into 2 rushed weekday hours when it deserves a full day?
I think it makes sense. I honestly,
I think it makes sense.
I feel like
It'd be
moving
fun.
it to the last Saturday would be cool because then you don't have to worry about school. You don't have to worry about as much traffic.
Yeah.
It's easier for parents to go out with their kids and do their thing.
Yeah. I think it's funny too, like other companies are joining in on it, like
Yeah.
Twix.
Aren't they all owned by the same company
just
that makes
funny.
Snickers? I think all
Oh, I
the
don't
candy
know.
bar companies that were like, because it was like M&Ms and Skittles
M&Ms.
and
Yeah, you're probably right,
Yeah.
but I just thought it was kind of funny.
it is kind of funny. But yeah, if you want to read more about that, what website was that from? If you want to
This
read
is
more on
from
that story.
Fox News.
Oh, there you go. Okay, but you can Google it and find it from
Yeah.
anywhere. So whatever your favorite.
I wonder if
that was just the
will-
first one we clicked on.
I
But
wonder if anything will come out of that.
I don't know. Good question. I would like. What was the petition up to right now? The number for how many people have signed the petition? I think it said like 120
Yep,
something thousand.
yep.
Right?
Yeah, 100,000. It has a goal too.
Cool. All right. Well, what do you guys think? I want to know what everybody on Facebook is thinking about and YouTube is thinking about Halloween. Would you rather see it be the last Saturday of October or October 31st as it's been for, I don't know, the beginning of time, basically?
Yeah,
so.
I know. I wonder if, like, I honestly don't really think it will change. I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Like, it's random.
It's not a federal holiday, so can like the president even make a decision
Well,
and say like, hey, we're going to change Halloween?
But yeah, but like who even would change that?
Right, yeah.
It's just
Who
one
does
of those things that's like it's like more so like a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Could everyone collectively like decide that it's? I don't think anyone would be against it.
I don't think so. I mean,
Like
the
who
purists
would
maybe
fight about like when Halloween is?
You never know. To be honest, I can't even say who that kind of question. Like who would fight about this?
Like you know, like it's like.
They come out of the woodwork.
But
you know?
yeah, remember that one Halloween where it was changed because of like the snowstorms?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. Halloween's fun. Maybe I think it's probably a good idea to move it to that last Saturday. It just makes sense to me. You know, it's for the kids. It's not even for like the adult. Like we don't,
for the kids.
you know,
we
get the kids dressed up. Like I don't get dressed up and go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I take the kids out. We go get trick or treat. You know, candy, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was one of the many random stories. Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of the many random stories. Let's talk about this this tick issue because this one's freaky. Like seriously freaky.
Oh, not this one.
Luckily, it's not here yet, thankfully, but
I hate
distressing
ticks.
to say the least. So we all know about ticks. We all know that they're a problem, and they've been just extremely explosive lately in terms of their population. For whatever reason, none of us know. Obviously,
they're just the worst.
They are really the worst. But there's a story in Norway. Here, let's pop this up on the screen.
I hate even looking at it.
Ugh. So there's a tick that they say it's twice the size of the regular ticks that we see, which that's a pretty big tick.
Yeah.
Because they're not small creatures.
They're
And where was it? Norway?
It's no, it's in the Netherlands.
Netherlands. There we go. I knew it was an N. N country. In the Netherlands, these ticks are twice the size, and they chase you. And this is no joke. Like they actually, find it where it says in the text.
It says if they want to bite you, they'll run after you.
Right. But it said how long it
Up
tracks
to
you for.
30 feet away. And it can track it for 10 minutes.
Right. So they'll follow you. If you get within 30 feet of it, it'll
That's
track you.
so
That's
frightening.
Crazy. So we have this kind of almost become a game at home because there's so many ticks. Though they've been lesser in the later part of the season, which has been nice. But we'll grab them and we smush them every time we see them. And you can walk down my street, and they'll be like, every like fifth blade of grass,
like
there's a tick on it in certain areas. It's so brutal.
They're so
But I
gross.
can't imagine them like actually chasing you though.
I know, because they're so just imagine.
Ugh.
I don't know. That's kind of crazy. And it says
freaky.
It says there's no sightings in the U.S. So thank
Right,
goodness.
they haven't made it here, but they did say that they came over on migratory birds.
Yeah,
in that
so
article.
like, and also, couldn't it really just get stuck on a person, like going on a plane and like come back here? Because it says it's in northern Africa, Asia, parts of southern and eastern Europe, and they hitchhiked on migratory birds to the Netherlands. Like that's
we're not that far from the Netherlands. In terms of
are.
global movement, we're not that far. So like, all you need is I don't know what kind of bird, some kind of.
Or like if it gets stuck on a person that it's tracking and chasing,
right? True,
latching onto and clothes and
Ugh.
biting. I don't know.
Parasites. That's what they are.
Nasty.
Gross.
Really nasty.
Gross. So watch out for the double-sized ticks that chase you.
Yeah.
That was the point of the whole story.
Before you get on a plane, check yourself.
Check yourself. Yeah, before you leave the woods, check yourself. I check my dog twice when we walk her. We go when we get to the end of our street where we walk to, or to the end of our walk rather, where we turn around. I'll check her once there, and then when I get back again, I'll check her. That way I can kind of see like where she might have picked them up from and stuff. So
we got my dog like the tick collar, but
the Seresto collar.
Yeah,
that works really
we
good.
Still have to check him just because he's a German Shepherd. He's always in the woods. He has thick fur.
Yeah,
he's pure black German Shepherd too. So it's
easy
like,
for them to hide on him. Yeah. So we learned an interesting thing about those Seresto collars. They work really well. For one, they're excellent. Not promoting them, of course, but they definitely.
Not sponsored.
Right, not sponsored, clearly, but they definitely work, though. I think, anyways, at least in my opinion, from what we've seen with our dog.
Yeah.
But the thing that we found that was troubling was they'll get on Zoe's. My dog's name is Zoe. They'll get on her.
Don't they just fall off?
Not immediately. So they get on her. She comes in the house, goes and gets comfortable, does her thing, and then at some point they fall off of her and end up in the house. So we've picked up this year probably a half a dozen just kind of crawling around the floor. One was on the wall. Last year we pulled a couple out of my bed, which my god, yeah, it was a bad day. One out of my bed and one out of my daughter's bed.
Oh gosh.
Yep. Yeah, actually two out of my daughter's bed. And it's just, we realized it was because Zoe would go like lay in her bed, so we've stopped her from like laying on the beds, at least in the summertime.
Yeah,
because
because the collar just makes them like fall off, right?
They don't like it. They try to bite, and then they're like, it tastes gross, and then they jump off.
It's so strange.
But she's already in the house. That's the problem. So she brings them in, and it helps her, but then it doesn't help us because we get bit because the thing is now running around the house trying to figure out what to do with itself.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen more ticks in my life than when I went to Salisbury last month, and I like wrapped a blanket around me because I'm always cold. I think I already talked about this. I don't remember. But we walked down to watch the sunset, and we weren't like in woods or anything. Like we were just on like a nice little boardwalk. And we went back into the camper, and I saw a tick crawling up my leg, and I was like, "Ooh, a tick!" Like whatever, got it off, burned it, and then I just started seeing them everywhere. There had to have been like 12 of them, like embedded in my little blanket.
Oh wow!
Oh gosh, I literally threw out the blanket. I was like, "Nope."
The beginning of the season up at my house, that's how it was too. It was
So
just they were
bad.
just everywhere. I mean, you could not. It was like almost every blade of grass. There was one everywhere. It was insane. But yeah, they've quieted down later in the season, which has been nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always good to.
Speaking of like more pleasant bugs, though, this story is really funny.
Yes, this is a funny story.
I just think this is wicked funny.
Let's put this one up on screen.
I don't know where the
so
picture.
you can find the image.
It's like it's
There
a
it is.
video. There's supposed to be a picture right here. It's just not loading.
Oh.
But there was a ladybug swarm that was so big that it showed up on the weather radar, which like I just think that's wicked funny.
So
like,
that green, it's probably small for folks to see, but that green blob is. Yeah, it's just this huge blob of ladybugs.
It's so funny to me. Like that had to have been such a big swarm.
Yes.
There's like a little ad.
I can't even imagine. Like that's huge. I actually really like ladybugs. I'll tell you a funny story.
They're good luck.
They're good luck for one, right? Of course. That's the sort of the
symbolism.
The symbolism or the funny part about it. But they eat aphids, and when I had my garden at my old house. I had a wicked problem with aphids. They'd be all over like chamomile and like all these different things, all these different plants I was growing. And there was no way I couldn't find a way to get rid of them. I'd spray them and that would kind of work, but you had to keep doing it. And, you know, it was just a pain in the butt. So then I read that ladybugs eat aphids because they're like aphids are soft, and the ladybugs, that's just what they like to munch on. They just go and chow on them. So I bought.
I think like some gardening places sell like
yes,
ladybugs,
you can.
right?
I bought them on Amazon. Love Amazon. You can buy everything.
You bought
there.
ladybugs off Amazon?
Literally bought ladybugs on Amazon. A box of I think there was like 2,000 in the box.
Holy
and
crap.
my mailman Jim was laughing at me. He
That's
rolls up on my house.
Funny.
Right? He comes up on my house and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "Did you order bugs?" And I'm like, "Yes, I did. I did order bugs." And he's like giving me this funny look like I'm crazy. But then I told him why. And and I brought him and I released him in my garden, and they did their thing for a couple days. The only problem was I didn't have like a ladybug house. They actually have a thing that they like to live in, like a type of structure.
Cute.
Yeah, so I didn't have one, so they all kind of flew away, and who knows where they went? Probably in my neighbors' houses.
Were
or
they
something,
expensive? Like
no, it was like maybe $20 for the couple thousand or something. I think it was 2,000, something like that. It was a lot.
That's crazy.
It was wicked funny, and it worked. It actually worked for a few days, and like I said, I didn't have a ladybug house, so they took off. But if you're a gardener and you have problems with aphids, that's a good way to help it.
I just want to get them
cheap
just
way.
to have them. They're so cute.
They're cool, yeah. We have them at our house now, but they come in the house. They're like more a nunuisance.
Yeah.
And I don't have much of a garden at this point yet.
And then they just show up like dead. Like
yeah, they show up
here and
everywhere,
there.
and they're crawling up the walls and stuff.
It's, like,
It's kind of
"Alright,
funny.
Go away now.
So yeah, that was our funny ladybug story. But they big enough swarm that they showed up on radar,
that's so
National Weather
funny.
Service radar.
And
That's
like sometimes
crazy.
planes and stuff will show up like on radar and stuff. Like a little dot will show up for planes. Imagine like how many ladybugs there had to have been.
Millions.
Yeah.
Maybe billion. I don't know. Tons. Enough that they showed up on the radar.
That's crazy.
That is pretty funny. Let's see what else. Oh, so here's an interesting one. Let's talk about the Google Map thing.
Oh yeah.
This is kind of a funny.
So this has actually happened to me before.
Right. Me too.
So I
I've
can
had this
relate
happen
to
myself.
this.
So we've all used Google Maps or some type of navigation system at some point in our life, in the last few years, anyways, since it's been around. And one, it's probably ruined all the back streets and side streets that people live on because it finds the shortest route. Obviously, that's the purpose of it, right? And to get us to where we want to go in the quickest fashion. But the problem is it cuts through all these different little side streets, back streets, what have you. And I'm sure it drives the residents nuts. There's been a bunch. I know I've seen stories on like down in Boston area where
Especially
they've actually
in Boston, I'm sure it's
where they've blocked streets to that kind of traffic. You know, you're only allowed to go if you're a resident or closed during certain hours of the day, so on and so forth. But this was kind of funny because people used Google Maps and nearly 100 drivers ended up in a muddy field because Google Maps put him in the wrong place. Not exactly
I
sure.
wonder who regulates that. Like,
I don't know.
Does Google do that? Like,
Well, it would have taken one of their little Google cars with the camera thing to go down it, right? I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not really sure how they would have mapped that out.
Most people thought it was just a detour.
Yeah, but they ended up in a muddy field. I would love to hear if people have ever had that happen to them.
No, that
where
has
you end up in the
happened to
wrong
me.
places.
Me and my friend were going to Provincetown in the Cape, and we plugged it into Google Maps, and we literally ended up like on a cliff. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, it was like a cliff, like looking over the highway that we were supposed to be on, and it was like it literally looked like a safari. Like, there was like bunnies hopping across the street. Like, there was huge grass. Like, it looked more
That's
so
funny.
like where a 4-wheeler or like an ATV or something would go. It was so funny.
That's
but we were like,
hilarious.
how do we even get out of this situation?
That is pretty hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah.
Very funny. So let's talk about. We got one more story we're gonna hit, and then we'll wrap this show up because we've rambled for a bit now.
Yeah. We hit all of our like main stories too, except
We
for the second degree. This is like, we should probably let people know, like, don't keep your phone
Yes,
charger
that's
under.
the one last one I wanted to go over. So this is and we've chatted about this before with Brad and John Pelletier from the Tyngsborough Fire Department. Brad Biscarnett and John Pelletier, two of our great firefighters. The need to be careful with your cell phone chargers. So this was a story that happened to a woman. She got
It looks so
second
bad.
degree.
Like,
That's
it
pretty
looks
brutal.
like
I'm
it
gonna warn you.
looks like
That's
her neck got
it's kind of
cut.
graphic. She got second degree burns around her neck when the charger cable touched her metal necklace.
Oh my gosh.
Where did we find that story?
This was on People.
Okay, you can Google it too. I'm sure. Just Google the story.
I just typed it in and it
Right.
showed up.
It'll
like,
probably come up on a bunch of
Yeah.
different services. But yeah, she has second degree burns. Put the image up just again for a second. From her necklace when it touched the cell phone charger cable that was under her pillow.
That's something you don't really think of happening. Like, you think of water and
Yeah.
like getting electrocuted like that. You don't think of.
Yeah, you don't think your cell phone charger cable is
Yeah.
going to fry your give you second degree burns around your neck
I've heard stories
because of your necklace.
Yeah, I've heard stories where like if you leave your phone under your pillow and stuff, it like might catch on fire.
Right, it could
Those
overheat.
types of crazy
Yeah.
stories, but this is bad. Like, that's really.
It's just kind of one of those warnings. So like check your so I've got one right here in front of me. Check your cell phone cables for any fraying or any, how we use these things a ton. I mean, they get used and abused quite a bit. I mean, how many times do you plug your phone in a day? A couple probably, right? At night, in the morning, so on. But they start to crack and fray after a while. And even the good, the Apple brand nice cables can have issues.
Yeah.
But just check them. If you have any like cracks or fraying, or you start to see any metal wire exposed underneath that thing, it's probably a good idea to get rid of it and get a new one. And then to be more cautious of the cheap versions, the ones that you can find in like every drugstore and markets and different places like that. They usually sell them at the in the end caps and side panels and stuff at the registers. Be super careful of those, because if you've ever compared a true brand Apple brand one to any of those guys, or even an Android or any of that kind of stuff, same thing goes. They're a little more cheaply made. The thinner materials.
Sometimes they don't even work
casing,
for my
sometimes they
phone.
don't
It's
work.
just like
Yep.
it doesn't. It's like may not support this accessory.
Right,
It just doesn't
and
work.
and not that they're all bad necessarily, but they're not made to quite the same standards in a lot of cases as the officially branded versions.
Right.
They're made a little bit better anyways, but still check them. Any which way you go, check all of those.
And you know what's worked
ports,
for
'cause
me too.
You don't want that to happen to you.
Right. I don't know if Apple like does this regularly, but I've brought my broken Apple charger and they'll replace it for
Oh,
free.
really?
They replaced mine for free. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Did you have to give them account information or anything, or did you
Yeah.
just do it? No, oh, okay.
I think so. Like, just so they can
Verify that.
verify that you actually like. I
Okay.
don't know, but
But that's good
I've
to know
brought it
that maybe
before
they'll
and they've
swap it out
replaced
for you.
it just because
Yeah.
they break so easily. Like,
Yeah.
you can go through those things.
And they're
easily.
good. They're good about making things pretty sturdy. I mean, look at how many times you drop your phone or you
Yeah.
like bump it or whatever, and they last a long time. I'm going on 2.5 years with mine.
Going 2 days with mine.
Yeah, right. You just got a new phone. But yeah, it's good to know that they'll swap those things out
Yeah.
for you. So if you do have any frayed cables and things like that, and they're generally pretty inexpensive. I want to say, an officially branded one usually in the $20 range, but then the cheapies can run like between $5 and $7 and $10 at different places,
Right.
depending on the place you go into. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so just a quick public service announcement, I guess, just to be careful. You don't want to end up like this
PSA.
poor lady.
I know.
Boy, that looks like That looks like it hurt
Yeah.
a lot. I feel bad for her. That's
She said that she felt let me find it. She felt a sudden burning sensation and severe pain around her neck. She got a 2nd-degree burn.
that it arced around her neck, though. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, she must have just been in the right position. The necklace touched the
Yeah.
thing, and then, ouch.
Oh,
But oh well. What are you gonna do? Just be careful. Sorry,
Yeah.
I feel bad that happened to her. But be careful. Definitely check your cables. Don't use any frayed ones.
Yeah.
All right. So that pretty much does it for us. I think we're gonna wrap it up for today.
Yep.
It's
Have
been
the
an hour.
weather pulled up.
Yes. Let's talk about the weather quickly. I have not had a chance to look at this already, but it looks pretty clear. Is there anything?
Yeah, it's like 80s for the whole week, it looks like.
Okay. No heat advisories. It looks like, so that's good.
I'm wondering
Um,
if that will change.
Yeah, it could.
Wednesday looks like a
Definitely could.
high of 85.
Well,
so-
Monday's caught me off guard. I clicked on National Weather Service, and suddenly it was like this heated. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Heat advisories all of a sudden. So,
Yeah.
yeah, be careful. Be careful of that stuff. Definitely check the weather frequently because it changes pretty rapidly.
Yeah, there's been some crazy. Like,
Any rain in the forecast? I don't see anything there. Looks like all
I've seen there's like
Chance
chance
of
of
thunder showers?
showers,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like anything too crazy.
okay. Good. So a
Um,
good forecast.
Yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful weekend. It looks like. What are you guys planning for the weekend? Leave your comments in the in any of the comment sections below. I don't know what we're doing. We're probably going to go to the park, take the kids to the park. And
Yeah.
I got some work around the house I got to do. So, how about you, Kaylee? What are you doing this weekend?
I have my online class.
Oh, good times. You get
So
to
much fun.
you get to spend
Fun
your.
stuff.
She gets to spend her weekend working on
But
classwork.
at least it's like an online class, so I could like take my laptop outside and do it.
Sit in
so
sit in the
so
sun
I
and
can
relax and
actually
enjoy it.
enjoy the weather.
There you go.
But
That's cool.
school never stops. The
The-
grind never stops.
The best way to go to school, I guess, right? Do it online class.
Yeah.
You can do it anywhere. You can sit anywhere you want.
It's true.
That's awesome.
It is very true.
Cool. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Don't forget, you can watch this broadcast all a bunch of different places: Facebook, YouTube, TyngsboroughMA.gov, and Comcast 8, Verizon 29. Please, if you would, give us a like, a comment, or a share or subscribe if we're on YouTube. That really helps us get around a lot of the algorithms that kind of squash a lot of this content. And it also helps to keep it in people's feeds and shares it with your neighbors and stuff, too. Not that the rest of the show was probably all that important to town operations, but at least when we had Justin on talking about all the road work and stuff like that, that's definitely a good one. Good stuff for residents to know about. And just keep in mind that all that stuff is happening. Middlesex Road, there's ongoing sewer work. They're starting their drilling to see what's going to be ahead of them when they actually start going into the ground to put the sewer down. Paving or striping, over on Kendall Road at the end of Kendall and Winslow. Striping over at Flint Corner. Those are both going on today through Monday. I think Kendall's supposed to be done today. And then paving work that's starting. I'll read the list off again. Paving that's going on in town. Hang on a sec. Let me just get back to that tab. Where'd you go? That is going on over on, I know Norris was one. Frost Road, I think, was the other one. There it is. Frost Road, Norris Road, Lawrence Road, Buck Hill, Coburn, and Wickesee are all being paved. So just keep in mind, if you live over in that area or if you have to travel through that area to get anywhere, keep in mind that stuff is going to be happening. So, so that pretty much does it for today. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. And if you have any questions and you want to see if we can get some answers for you, sbrogan@tyngsboroughma.gov. I'm happy to ask questions around town and see if we can get answers, because sometimes there's just not everything's on the website. So just makes it easy.
Sometimes there's just questions.
Sometimes you just have questions. Yeah, we try to answer them. So, all right, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy it, and I'll see you on Monday with the news. Bye, everybody.